Hello, and thank all of you for joining us. I'm Betsy Ross from Game Day Communications in Cincinnati, and welcome to the WBEC ORV's Virtual Readiness Series, Preparation for the Big Comeback. This is a series of conversations with business leaders across Ohio with thoughts and advice to help you get back to business. Today, we are with Michael Bracey from Honda and Lynnise Smith from OhioHealth. Thank you both for being with us. We really appreciate it. And I've got some questions for you. And Michael, I will start with you. How has your organization adjusted to supplier engagement during these times?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us. This is an important topic in this time frame, and in all times actually. So we're having it now. But what we hope to do, and hopefully with WBEC ORV will continue on, is having messages from corporate perspective on whatever happens to be going on at that time. But to get to your question specifically, that's an ongoing thing. What are we doing with supplier engagement? I don't know, trying to figure it out. That's what we're trying to do. And I think that's the opportunity that we have. What we're learning is we have to be fluid. Supplier engagement was always a topic in our area that we wanted to figure out how to make it more effective for both parties, for ourselves as well as the potential candidates that want to work with us. How do we make those opportunities effective and efficient? So in the virtual world, there are plenty of opportunities that we're looking at in actuality, because now we're all talking from home or wherever we may be situated. There actually is an opportunity for us to get potential candidates in front of our buyers more effectively and efficiently. So that's what we're looking to right now. I'm not going to say we figured it out, because we haven't. We actually haven't begun our first true interaction with potential suppliers. With our current supply base, we're doing a lot of activity, updating them to what's going on with us, whether it's new contracts or what's going on with our current production situation. We're doing that virtually. But what we're coming down to is we're really going to take advantage of this opportunity to become more effective and efficient in how we engage suppliers, which of course, in this difficult time where we don't know in the next 9, 18 months what we're going to be able to do as far as travel is concerned. And as most things happen, once you eliminate something, then you have to update it. So as right now, we're not traveling. If we find out that by not traveling, we're still effective at getting opportunities for diverse companies and engaging our internal departments with those diverse companies, then as much as I like to travel, maybe it's not going to be as necessary going forward in the future. It really hurts me to say that, because I really like to travel. But I think that's what we're trying to do with supplier engagement. So it's going to be an ongoing challenge.
Lynnise, how about you? We've talked so much about healthcare and the healthcare system. How about you adjusting to supplier engagement right now?
I actually will just piggyback on what Michael said. We are still trying to figure it out. I will say that it has been great during the pandemic to see that our suppliers have actually really been the person that engaged us. So they're the ones that called on us. I have suppliers saying, oh, I have access to PPE. Let me know if you need it, which was great for us because, as you know, and everyone has seen in the news, we had challenge getting the stock that we needed, right? A lot of the hospital systems across the country had trouble getting stock. And so to see that our minority businesses kind of stepped up, women and minority businesses stepped up to get us that, to help us get our supplies that we needed, it was great. I have just been following the lead of those businesses. So as they contact me through LinkedIn or email or whatever way, just trying to stay engaged any way I can. In the meantime, to Michael's point, we're trying to figure out what the future of outreach looks like. So we're trying to engage in virtual events any way we can and participate. Now, since we've been doing more informal and supplier-led type of initiatives, I am working on planning some virtual events for the future, in the near future, to figure out what can we do in the interim, because definitely during this time right now, we do not want our diverse suppliers to get left out, right? We want to be as proactive as we can, and we need to find a way to still connect them to our internal stakeholders so our internal stakeholders remain educated and aware of what suppliers that are out there. So which tells me that my job has to switch a little bit, my focus has to switch, and I have to find some kind of way to make sure that connection still happens and our suppliers get the engagement and the information that they need, and then our internal stakeholders get to build the relationships that'll be critical to pushing the program forward.
Well, you both kind of talked about how industry has to pivot right now because we don't know the future, and we've had to adjust very quickly to changing environments for the last few months. What do you see as lessons learned from the COVID environment? And Lynnise, I'll start with you.
Wow. You know, it's a really good question. I mean, from my perspective, I would say that I had not leveraged technology enough internally, and utilizing those platforms to make sure that my internal stakeholders are engaged and finding ways to put suppliers before them. Social media has been big, LinkedIn and those connections. And then, you know, I just had a conversation with somebody about dig your well before, I forgot, what is it? Dig your well before your water, you need something, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Before you're thirsty, maybe that's what it is. Dig your well before you're thirsty. Like, I know it's there. But what we were talking about was the beauty of the relationships, right? So we took, at least I personally sometimes took the relationships for granted and then not realize how vital the previous outreach that we did was, right? In the moment that we need them, we know that it's valuable to outreach with these suppliers because I met a supplier here, I met a supplier there. But when you really get to know these suppliers and the suppliers know you and your brand and what you're doing, I think I undervalued the power in that because we had suppliers reaching out to us and I did not have to make that call. And it wasn't just, I want to sell you something. It's, I want to help OhioHealth. Let me know what I can do. And honestly, I think I underestimated the power of those relationships that are built when we go out and network with diverse businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and Michael and Lynnise mentioned about technology. It's like Zoom. It's like, you know, nobody heard of Zoom in April and March, and now we use it every day. But what are some of the lessons, do you think, Michael, that your company has learned?
Well, again, I'll piggyback what Lynnise said, because it's scary. It's like, it is truly looking in the mirror where we all have focused on our platforms and how we communicate, the events we had, and we go, oh, you know, we're doing a good job. We have this event, we get together, and something like this happens. And the first thing you start looking at is, how can a supplier communicate with me? Well, my web portal is horrible. So I don't have any information there. There's no real interactive communication there. So you start looking at all the different boxes and saying, okay, how would somebody get to me? And looking at it from that perspective in this time frame has really been very eye-opening. And so I believe the lesson learned, lessons learned, lessons gained is interesting usage of words. But basically, I think the lesson learned is it kind of like digging your well before you want water, which I don't know how that's said either. But, but I think that it's really looking at that. So I was during our team discussion with my team. One of the things that I kept saying to them, I said, I kind of feel like we were already pivoting towards how to improve some of the things we're doing, but right now it's been an accelerator. And in an environment where all of our organizations are dealing with the budget impacts of our business, well, I should say all of our industries. In our industry, we had, for the first time ever, the entire automotive industry stopped. Complete supply base, everything shut down. It's never happened before. And so we're now dealing with that about, of course, what are budgetary issues. So in the times of a budgetary impact, we're also looking at technology improvements. So we had plans to improve a little piece of technology here, a little piece of technology here, but now to look at our complete branding. So we've had a lot of discussions internally with our corporate communications, how to streamline all of our communications so that we're getting a consistent message out as we look at supplier diversity and diversity overall, especially with the unfolding situation in the country. It's even more important that we have a consistent method of communicating the Honda brand and what we are doing. So that's just an opportunity. So we really learned that when you look in the mirror and you say, you know, I can improve that area, I can improve that area. Instead of making a 100-year plan, maybe you need to make a little bit of faster plan and realize that you need to move a little bit quicker to make sure that we stay engaged.
Yeah, yeah. I think being nimble in this time is just so important. But you
Exactly.
both have talked about the relationships with your suppliers and how important that has been over the last few months. What suggestions do you have for WB suppliers to use this time as an opportunity on their end? Michael, I'll start with you.
Well, I think it's actually a carryover point from a lot of discussions we've been having in the industry when we talk to suppliers, current suppliers, and potential suppliers. I think, as Lynnise mentioned, it's that communication and staying engaged. We always try to stay connected to our suppliers, and our suppliers obviously want to stay connected to us, so that in these times, they can be, first to come to us and do that thing that we talk about, which is problem solving. Problem solving is the true secret weapon of the most successful suppliers. They understand the organizations that they're working with and understand how to solve a problem. So as Lynnise said, suppliers have called and said, I want to help. Now, I want to help is not just a blanket call for, hey, if you need something, give me a call. That's not necessarily a problem solving. Pardon me. Had a quick issue. So that's not necessarily a problem solving. A problem solution is coming in and saying, hey, Honda, I understand now, for example, we have PPE. And with PPE, that's not something you typically had before. I'm aware of PPE, and this is what I can do for you. I have an access to thermometers that you're going to need now, because Honda never thought about thermometers because we're not in the thermometer business. But that's something that's going to be necessary. I've made a list of all of the things that it takes to open back up, and this is what I can provide for you. That's problem solving. And so for that buyer and that buyer's manager and that department, that's what they're looking for. They're like, oh my gracious, bring that, let's have a virtual meeting with that company. Here's 12 contracts right now for thermometers, sanitizers, face masks, face shields. This is what we need. Help us get that done. That's the biggest takeaway. And the way that happens from the WBEC standpoint is being aware of your business, being aware of what's going on in the market, and most importantly, understanding your customer and what they need and how you can solve their problem. Problem solving is a time-proven successful pattern for any supplier. How do you solve a problem, especially for a company like Honda or OhioHealth, who have nothing but problems going on?
Yeah, that's very good. Lynnise, how about you? What kind of suggestions or ideas do you have for suppliers?
Well, I think, Michael said it, and I think we've said it before, it's the constant undertone theme of relationships, right? And building those relationships. What I really feel is if the suppliers that had the relationships prior to the pandemic are the ones that were our go-to. So sometimes when that emergency has happened, it's the wrong time to build a relationship, right? We're in a critical mode where we're trying to mitigate risk, and having a new supplier come to us and say, hey, want to have a meeting with you, want to share all the stuff that I'm able to get, and on top of that, I have PPE. I seen those types of engagements not be successful. So I would say at this time, diverse suppliers should be thinking about, who did I do that deep dive with my relationships? Who do I feel like I have a really good relationship with? And who do I want to have a relationship with? And then figure out how to start cultivating that relationship. So the next time there's a pandemic or some other type of emergency, that's not the time that you're making the introduction of yourself. You're reminding them that you're there as a partner and that you can support or offer some assistance to them. Not during a pandemic. During the middle of a pandemic, we want to go with who we know is going to deliver, who we can trust. And, you know, and those, especially when you see all the price gouging and all the stuff that's going on, we want to be with somebody that really sees us as a partner and who just happens to have what we need and, you know, to help us help the patient. Right. So I would say building those relationships is one. And then even looking at your own technology, like doing a deep dive and say, where can I pivot? What do I need to do? What part of my business model is antiquated at this point that maybe I need to review and see where the industry is going? Because right now, even with OhioHealth, our staff, the bulk of our operations staff are not even in the office. We're all working remotely and we don't know when we're going to come together. So for a person like me who was able to generate conversation through the hallway, on my way to the copier, you know, able to put a plug in for a WBE or MBE, that when I saw someone, I don't have that. I have to be a little bit more intentional now to try and get the attention of my people or try to build those relationships internally so that I can advocate and identify opportunity. So, I mean, they have to do the same thing the corporates are doing. And that's reviewing their business model and trying to figure out what the next step is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the big winner out of all this horribleness that we've seen, the big winner is going to be technology. I think that we will adjust to technology faster than we would have just because we have to now. And we know that that's the way to do business. So, Michael, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I've never been on a Zoom call. I've done so much Zoom in the last 3 months. And prior to that, I'm like, I've never been on a Zoom call.
We've never heard of it. Now we do it every day. Michael had mentioned that you might have a story or two about some of your suppliers that have really pitched in and helped over these last few weeks.
Wow. Actually, we've had some great stories, and I'm in the process of trying to uncover all of them because unfortunately, and fortunately, the suppliers that come in at that critical point, sometimes they don't realize that this is also a success story, right? My internal people were like, they gave me what I needed. I'm like, but you didn't know that I was a WBE? Could you tell me what's going on? So what I discovered was we had a woman on business who's actually a member of WBE ORV, and she helps with a lot of our technology and training. And we actually had a orientation class of about 200 associates that coming Monday, which was the first day of the stay-at-home order. And what are we going to do, right? So OhioHealth I was very impressed when I onboarded to OhioHealth with the orientation process. So we have a very dynamic, energetic process that is really, it's the foundation of starting to build a relationship to being onboarded to OhioHealth family. Now, we all have to stay at home. What are we going to do? And so they contacted the supplier because, of course, they had been trusted, had done prior projects, and had been proven to be able to deliver. And they were able to turn around our orientation and actually transfer it to an online platform where they were able to build some interaction and allow us to onboard about 200 associates within 48 hours.
Wow.
I mean, it was huge. It's an 8-hour day. And they transitioned the whole thing to a virtual platform. And from what I understand, it's just been year over year. Week over week, it has continued to improve as they, say, you know what, it's a little bit better if we do it this way. We could do it that way. And so to Michael's point, the supplier has also been a problem solver for us in saying, I know how to enhance that. Next week, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Let's try it this way. And so it takes some of that pressure off of our internal staff and allow our internal staff to do what they do best and allow that supplier to do what they do best, and help us, achieve our mission and our goals.
Absolutely. This is a time that everybody has a crisis plan on the bookshelf, and you hope that you never have to take it down, but every once in a while you do. But I think both of you have had really good points about how it's a relationship. Anybody can buy materials one time for an exorbitant amount of money. You can do it one time, but you're never going to do it again from them because they charged you too much. It's a long-term process, and you have to build those relationships with your suppliers. Well, Michael had to leave us, but I want to thank both Michael Bracey from Honda and Lynnise Smith from OhioHealth for some great suggestions and good conversation about how we move forward now into the next few months and years with those relationships. Thank you both for being with us.
No problem. Thank you.